Shohei Ohtani signed a 10-year contract for all the money in the world. And my guest in a car. He's in his freaking car. We said, he said, let's go do it. Oh, I'm in the car. Too late. We got Jeff Snyder from Locked On Dodgers. Jeff, hi.
Hi. To be fair, the car's not moving. I'm at my son's wrestling tournament, and they were on a break, and my son has alerts set up. I don't have alerts set up on my phone, so it was my son who elbowed me in the ribs and said, Shohei signed with the Dodgers. And so I had to hop on Twitter and see if it was true, although I don't know why I thought Twitter was going to be the conveyor of truth this time. But it came straight from Shohei's mouth. It was, and, this is cheesy. Sully, you're a dad. My son and I, after, it's been 15 minutes or so now, whatever, we gave each other a hug, and I told him, I said, this is going to be a moment we remember forever, sitting at your tournament together and sharing that moment when Shohei signed with the Dodgers. Like, it's cheesy, it's dumb, but that's why I love baseball, because it's cheesy and dumb. It gives me family experiences. And holy crap.
Yeah, thanks for saying crap. I don't want to get a TVMA here.
I'm not Sully.
Yeah, we are going to, by the way, we're doing this live because I just want to get this out there as soon as possible. I see we've got a bunch of people watching. I see we've got a bunch of people sending comments. Don't worry. Towards the end of the show, we will indeed get to all your comments and talk about everything. But let's just talk about, look at, the relief is my finger is no longer broken from hitting refresh on Twitter or whatever it's called now, trying to get the information. Once again, my predictions are, as always, terrible. I thought Shohei was going to sign a short-term deal, like a 2-year deal, to establish that he could be a pitcher again, and then go off into the wild. When someone shows up and says, "Here's $700 million tomatoes," when someone shows up and says, here's $700 million, I think you say, hey, all the other strategy is out the window. Let's sign for that.
Yeah, I don't think Shohei was ever considering a short-term deal because, free agency, you see how people go crazy. Like, I remember, who was it, Carl Pavano, that people went crazy over in free agency? This is Shohei Ohtani. We can do all the analysis we want during the season and when things are rational, but when it comes down to it and the bidding war starts, it's going to go crazy. So there was never going to be any need for Shohei to take a short-term deal. It's the Dodgers usually aren't the high bidder in situations like this, but that when they decide they want somebody, it is interesting. I saw a note from Robert Murray and a couple other people that most of the money is deferred, and we don't know for how long, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Dodgers are paying this $700 million over the next 30 years.
And by the way, I wanted to say one thing along those lines about deferred money and teams paying players off many years later. I make this point every single year when people try to laugh at the Mets regarding the Bobby Bonilla signing that he's signed. Like he gets every year he gets another $1 million from the Mets, and people laugh at the Mets for that. That was an extraordinarily smart move for the Mets at the time because it freed up a lot of payroll. It freed up some flexibility that allowed them to there's a direct correlation between deferring Bobby Bonilla's payment and acquiring and signing Mike Piazza to a long-term deal. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say the acquisition of Mike Piazza turned out to be a positive one for the Mets. Sorry, I know you're a Dodger fan. He should have been the greatest offensive Dodger in their team history, but still.
Yeah, I don't blame the Mets for that. That was the Dodgers' fault. But yeah, these are smart things. And to be clear, the 30 years is total speculation by me. We don't know at this point, at least when I hopped on it, we don't know how long the deferrals are.
We barely know anything.
If the Dodgers are paying him $25 million a year for the next 30 years, that's chump change. Like the Dodgers are going to make more than $25 million a year. Well, just because they have Shohei Ohtani under contract. They probably made $25 million in jersey sales in the half hour since this news was announced.
Oh.
It's ridiculous. And so, and the fact that it was Shohei's idea, that he is focused on, he brought up the idea of deferring the money so that they could continue to build around him. It underscores the fact that most of Shohei's money is going to come from endorsements anyway. He's going to make $100-200 million a year in endorsements, deferring his $70 million a year salary is not that big a deal.
And for the Dodgers, I mean, we all watched Angel games last year, in the last few years. They especially whenever Ohtani came to bat, all the rotating ad screens turned to Japanese characters and Japanese corporations. The amount of ad space that they're going to get, knowing that he's immensely popular in America, of course, but his popularity in Japan is through the roof. uh it's going to be, you could just fill those out. You saw that in smaller scales when Hideki Matsui was in New York, when Ichiro Suzuki was in Seattle, even to a lesser degree when Nomo kind of was the first one through the wall to be the first Japanese star of the modern era in American baseball. So just in terms of the the sales, the ticket sales, the merchandise sales, and the corporate sponsors that are going to come to the Dodgers. I mean, that was the reason why in the during the season I said, Angels, just find out what he wants. Now,
Yeah,
and if they couldn't, and of course the point I made was find out what he wants, and if you can't meet that, trade him immediately, because right now the Angels got what, a draft pick for him?
yeah. Hey, and it, the, there's a reason we call Otani a unicorn, and it's not just what he does on the field,
Right.
because he might be worth the $70 million a year just on the field if he comes back as a dominant pitcher and continues to hit. He might be worth it just on the field, but off the field, he is even more of a unicorn because of this international appeal. Like, how would it be the most talented baseball player in the world and extremely good looking and have multiple countries basically worshiping you? And also like being a super nice guy. Like,
Well, look
I
at
can't relate to any of those.
I can relate to almost all those.
You're not a
Uh,
nice guy.
and, no, I'm a nice guy. I'm a nice guy. But just look at. I think this is the amazing thing is I mean, going into in 2024, either Freddie Freeman or Mookie Betts are the third best player on the team. One of those two, the highest they can hope for is to be. It's like one of them will be the third best uh, player on the team, which just shows you a little bit of the unbelievable, just the absolute unbelievable talent that's on the team right now. And let me tell you something. I mean, you're going to stick around for just a second here, but I got to tell you something. Um, I think it's just going to be an absolute surefire bet that the Dodgers are going to be the favorite.